Welcome to the Grey Eye and Disability Arts online podcast, Disability And, bringing together thoughtful discussion and debate. This month, Nickie Miles-Wildin, Associate Director at Grey Eye, chats with writer, actor, disability activist Ruth Madeley about her work and her journey into acting. This podcast contains some strong language.
Hello and welcome to the Grey Eye and Disability Arts online podcast. I'm Nickie Miles-Wildin, Associate Director at Grey Eye Theatre Company. I am a white woman, I have brown eyes, I'm wearing some black rimmed glasses. My hair has now got a bit better since the last time you might have heard my voice. I've bleached my hair all over, short at the sides, long on the top. I have a nose piercing in my left nostril. I'm wearing a headset and a microphone. Sitting on a black chair, I look a little bit like an airline pilot. And I'm wearing an orange jumper that has some brown buttons on the shoulders. In my room, I have a bookcase behind me full of books that I haven't read. I still haven't read, even though we're now in lockdown 2.0. Photo frames on the top and some lovely flowery curtains. And today, here on the podcast, I am joined by the one, the only, Ruth Madeley, actor, writer and disability activist. Hello, Ruth. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good, thank you. Would you mind just giving us a little description of yourself?
Of course. So I am sat on a beige-coloured chair in my office, also in front of bookcase, which I have read all of these books, I'm not going to lie. That was my lockdown. I know, see, I'm showing off now. That was lockdown number one for me. I, too, am wearing an orange jumper. This was not done intentionally, which I absolutely love. Big knitted orange jumper, perfect for the autumn months. My hair is dark blonde. I have it down and I've got a good old thick fringe. And I'm wearing little earrings, little gold earrings in my ears. So yeah, I think that's me. I am also a white woman. And for the first time in about 5 months, I'm wearing some makeup.
It looks good, the makeup.
Thank God. I mean, I've forgotten how to do it.
Yeah, there's many things. Like I said to you just before, like moments I look at my phone and I'll be like, I can't, how do I press? What button do I press? It's like your brain just fries.
I know. I mean, Nickie, you're very lucky. I've also not worn a bra for how long, so you've also got that joy for you. I mean,
wow.
I pretty much felt like I was coming out today, so that's exciting.
Well, you know, I feel proud of that. Proud that I've made you wear a bra.
Thank you. You're so welcome, guys.
I'm going to put that on my tagline of my Twitter. I made Ruth Madeley wear a bra.
I might do the same.
Yeah, we are colour coordinated in our lovely autumnal orange jumpers. Trying to feel warm up here. We're both up north. I'm in Manchester. You're a bit further north in the naughty town of Bolton.
I'm in Bolton. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry on behalf of all my town. It's dreadful, isn't it? Everyone says, "Oh wait, where are you based, Ruth?" And I go, Bolton.
And that's nothing towards Bolton, it's just the situation
It's just
at the
the
moment.
situation. Well, I keep thinking no one's going to want to come near me if they know I'm from Bolton. So like, oh my God, no.
So, this podcast today, which is being broadcast on December the 3rd, the International Day of Disabled People.
Yay! Woo, woo,
And
woo, woo.
thinking about Disability History Month, it's about access into. So Ruth, I'm just going to have a little bit of chat with you about your access into where you are now.
Oh my goodness me.
Besides being in Bolton.
I know, yeah. I'm never leaving, apparently.
So I know you started working with Whiz Kids. What was your access into working with Whiz Kids, and do you still have a connection with them?
Yeah, so Whiz Kids is like my other family member. They bought me my first wheelchair when I was 5 years old. So I have known them, when I say all my life, it's very true. When my mum and dad first heard about Whiz Kids, they thought it was a scam because they were told they wouldn't have to pay for a wheelchair because Whiz Kids would provide it. And my dad was like, yeah, all right, I've heard this before, right, fine. And no, it turned out it was I think I was about the seventh kid that ever got a chair from them, because they'd literally just been born. Whiz Kids when I first got my chair from them. So I was one of the very, very first Whiz Kids, as it were, which I'm very proud of that title. And then we were just so, as a family, we were so bowled over by how wonderful they were. They don't just give a kid a wheelchair and say, go on, have a happy life. They're very much about helping to promote independence and confidence, teaching you how to use your wheelchair, teaching parents what I still might need help with, what I could possibly do by myself. And that was very much a whole growing up thing. It wasn't just when I first got the chair that we were so excited to work with a charity who got it, who understood the importance of independence in disabled children. And I ended up, as a family, we fundraised for them. I was part of their, it's a mini board of trustees called the Kids Board. So I was part of that when I think I was 12, 13. And then I got another wheelchair from them at 14. And then I volunteered for them when I was at university and when I was at college. Did lots of volunteering for them locally. And then I ended up being a full-time employee for them. And I worked with them for, it was 9 years. I mean, I would have liked to get to 10, but you know what? Hey, this kind of happened. So 9 years I worked for them. And now I'm really happy to say I am patron for them as well. So I've come very much full circle, and I've got a very unique privilege of being able to understand the charity from a beneficiary point of view, an employee point of view, and now a patron. So yeah, it's a very lovely story, and I'm very, very grateful to everything that they've done for me in my life.
That's great, and to hear, like you say, how it's come round and now being a patron of such an organisation as well. And that real push for independence for young people. So after Whiz Kids, you went on to be an actor, didn't you?
Yeah, it kind of all happened in a bit of a mishmash. I don't know if do you want me to tell the story about how I got into acting?
Yeah, go on, tell us a good story.
Oh my goodness me. Well, it was a complete accident for a start. And when I say complete accident, I mean it. It was so unexpected, so not even on my radar. I was doing a work placement at Whiz Kids, and I was also doing because Whiz Kids are based in London, and at the same time I was working at Whiz Kids, I was also some of the other days in the week doing a work placement at BBC, because I knew my degree was in script writing, so I knew that I wanted to be in this industry. I just always thought that my role would be in storytelling and creating stories and increasing diversity and disability representation that way. I thought that was going to be my place, and I was very happy with that. That was always the plan. And then a producer that I'd met during my BBC work experience had said, CBBC are looking for a wheelchair user for the one episode of this drama that they're doing. We can't find anyone. Will you just go? And I was like, what do you mean me just go? I said, I'm not an actor. I said, I'm a writer, and I mean, didn't even have a clue what I was doing. But then I am naturally a very nosy person. So I kind of wanted to go purely as a networking opportunity, because I'm all about networking. It's all about who you know. And I love learning about everyone's jobs in the industry. So I just thought it was going to be a great way to kind of meet a really great producer, a director, and kind of just expand my knowledge base and understand how things get cast, because that always fascinated me. And I remember I went in and they were like, so tell me, where did you study your craft? And I'm going, I was like, oh, no, I've just come here because I've been asked to. Completely and utterly so unprofessional, so unprepared. And there were other actors there who obviously were so much more professional than me. And all the other actors must have been really bad if they give it me. Can I just point out? They must have been. I mean, to give me the job was just insane. But at the same time, I knew I'd done a good job. And I felt the adrenaline in the room. At first I was like, why on earth do people do this? This is hideous. This is so stressful and nerve-wracking. And I don't even care. I don't even want it. And then when I got in the room and did it, I was like, oh my God, I really want it now. I really want it. I really do. I understand. I got this adrenaline. And I was like, oh, that felt good. I want to do that again. And I was incredibly blessed that they gave me the opportunity to do the role. And that ended up being my introduction into the world of acting. But I never thought for a second that that would be a career, ever. I genuinely...
And what was the role? Can you remember?
Well, yes, I do remember. I specifically remember because I think I was about 20 and I was playing a 15-year-old. And I've never been more proud in my life. I was like, oh, youthful, thank you so much. And it was for a show called Half Moon Investigations. And it was based in a school in Scotland. And I played one of the students. And it was just a one episode. And I remember them saying to me, oh, because you're not represented either, you'll be able to get the full amount. You won't have to pay a fee to your agent. And I'm thinking, well, this is a nice way to earn some extra money on the side. Oh, you're going to give me this money for doing this? Thank you. And then the BBC helped hook me up with a fantastic agent in Manchester at the time. And I thought, oh, well, this will be a nice way to kind of just keep something on the side to do.
Yeah.
Didn't really pursue it, if I'm honest. Wasn't something that I actively went, oh, what other jobs can I go on? I think in that, was it 1 or 2 years later, I ended up doing an episode of Fresh Meat with Jack Whitehall, which was great. Again, just one couple of days on it. I thought, brilliant, never once thinking that anything big had come of it. And then I don't think I did anything for about a good 5 years. I don't think I did. And then a script came onto my agent's desk called Don't Take My Baby. And I remember my agent saying, if you get this, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes. And it was a lead role and I got it. And that was 5 years ago. And here we are. Not look back.
No, and I think that's a really incredible journey. That thing where I think with a lot of disabled actors, you get used to having those bit parts here and there, and then to have this fantastic drama. And I think, as your agent said, things will change, and they have. And it's been great to see your journey after that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I mean, hey, I don't know how much subconsciously it was that acting was never on my radar. Because I never grew up seeing anybody who looked like me on TV, and I didn't even register into my mind that it was even an option. So,
yeah,
even when I was getting opportunities to do those couple of bit parts, it was like, oh well, I went in knowing or feeling that I was like the tick box. I went in, I was like, okay, I understand. I'll be the tick box. Give me the money, and then I'll be on my way. And then when I saw Don't Take My Baby, I was like, I will be devastated if I don't get this. This is the biggest moment of my career ever. And yeah, it turned out I was right. The hunch was right. It was the biggest.
It was. And it was fantastic and incredibly moving as well.
Yeah, it was big old thing to perform as your first lead. Apart from Mary in my primary school nativity. I mean, to be fair, I think that's quite an important role, but yeah, I was very rusty. Hadn't been a lead since I was 5 years old.
And how did you Did you have any training to go into that role, or are you just like, no, I've got this, I know exactly what I'm going to do?
I haven't trained at all, ever, in my career. We had one session at RADA with a director who, it was during the audition process. It was like a workshop to kind of learn a little bit more about some people who were in contention for the role. So you were bunged in with all of these people who were also going for the role, and it was honestly, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't have a clue. And I think it was a case of I just left every drop of fear that I had at the door, and there was a lot of it, trust me. And I just thought, well, if I don't throw everything I have at this, I will look back and regret it so much. And it paid off, so.
And there was a certain writer attached to that project, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was someone called Jack Thorne. Not many people have heard of him, I'm not going to lie. Honestly, I have never been more terrified in my life. You know, when you're desperate to impress somebody without wanting to kind of be obvious that you're trying so hard. I couldn't find the line. I just couldn't. I was just, when he walked in to that RADA session, I was like, oh my God, why is he here? Why is he watching? I've got no idea what I'm doing. Very, very, very overwhelmed meeting Jack for the first time.
And I think there is something, isn't it, with when you're an actor and the writer is in the room. I think there is something around
pressure.
That like I want to prove to you that you can trust me with your words, with your work.
Exactly. It was the hardest thing to try and stay not fangirly in any way, shape or form. And to be fair, I mean, hey, I don't think I managed it very well, but it can't have been that bad. They still hired me.
So with it then, were you involved in the kind of script development process?
No.
Or was it very much set already?
Because Don't Take My Baby was based on a true story, it was very much set on what the story was and what the disability of the characters were. But at the same time, the team with Don't Take My Baby the team was incredible. Every single member of that crew and cast worked so well together. It was a really small, because it was a very small cast, so it wasn't a massive production, and everybody, we really worked together to find out what were, in regards to like showing certain bits of your body, what you were comfortable with. So all of that we had a lot of conversation and dialogue around, and a really good saying. But in relation to the actual story, the story was what the story was, and yeah, that was heartbreaking and beautiful and everything in between. I mean, it's the kind of role that you would, as an actor, you would dream of getting. And I remember thinking, if I don't, because it was a long audition process. Oh my God, Nickie, it was 3 months. 3-month audition process. I mean, to be fair, they had absolutely no reason to trust me. I'd never done a lead role, bar Mary. I'd never done a lead role. So, and it's a really important, it was a true story. The whole piece was so important. So, and it lived and died on the relationship between the two main characters. And if that was going to not be believable or not done well enough, then the story wouldn't work. So they had to make sure casting was right. And I completely get that. But I have never been more exhausted in my entire life. I remember it got to the stage where I thought, if I don't get this, I genuinely won't be able to watch it. I'll find it too devastating.
Wow.
I'll just sit there really sad and bitter in the corner, like, it's beautiful, but I'm so upset.
But you did it, you got through, you made it, and did it go on to win awards? Yes,
it won a BAFTA, which was incredibly exciting, and I was nominated as Best Actress. I mean, Nickie, for crying out loud, you've never seen anybody who, it was quite obvious who'd never been to the BAFTAs before, put it that way. It was like Bolton had arrived, me and my family members literally on the red carpet. Oh, look who it is. Oh my god, it's Trevor McDonald. Oh my god. All of that ridiculous, like, I have never been more proud to be part of a production that was noticed and recognised on such a scale. It was an absolute dream. I'm so, like, because everyone kept saying when we were making it, this is BAFTA worthy, this is BAFTA worthy, and I was just like, oh, is it? That's exciting. And then when it got nominated, I wasn't surprised it got nominated, because when you see how hard everybody works, and the calibre of, like, Jack and Ben Anthony, our director, and Pierre Wilkie, our producer, and Adam Long, Wumi Misaka, all of these incredible people, I was like, yeah, of course. And then when I found out I got nominated, I was like, well, that's a mistake. That must be a misprint. How I found out was hysterical. I found out on Twitter. Oh, Nickie, it was hysterical.
Really?
Yeah, they don't let you know. You find out with everybody else.
With everyone? Wow.
I ruined everybody's morning. I was literally going for a read-through for my next job. I was on the train in the quiet carriage because all the other wheelchair spaces were taken, so I'd been bunged in the quiet carriage. Now, I'm not the kind of person to put in a quiet carriage, let's just say that for a start. And then I found out by tweet, but my phone was on silent, and you're not allowed to make phone calls in the quiet carriage. And I'm like hysterically crying. Somebody thought someone had died. I was like, no, it's fine. I've just been nominated for a BAFTA. And they're like, of course you have, dear. Of course. Yeah, of course you have. Honestly, yeah, clearly. It was hysterical. It was just the most hysterical morning. And one of the best days. If I could relive one day, it would be finding out.
Be that day.
That day. Not the BAFTAs. Actually finding out. Because it was so far from any kind of expectation. It was just ridiculous.
Well, but then how fantastic, going through that 3-month audition process, filming it, to then being on that train, seeing your name appear on Twitter as a nominee. It's just brilliant. And it's been fantastic to see your career go from there. And one of my favourites is Years and Years. And seeing you in that was just, like when the first episode came on, and I think you were in the car, weren't you, going to hospital?
Yeah.
And I was like, I recognise that. I can't think who it is. But for me, it was just like I love the whole storyline. And like, if Russell T Davies has predicted anything, it's like he's obviously predicted the whole of 2020.
I'm sorry, but I'm not speaking to him. This is all his fault. But carry on.
It's all his fault. He's put it out there.
Yeah.
But what I loved about Years and Years was that thing of, and I don't mean it's any disregard, but that your impairment wasn't there at the beginning, then it was, and then it became, it was just honest in that entire series about it. And I just thought it was beautifully done. How was that? Did you feed into that development?
Yeah, I mean, with Russell T Davies, he's like the most wonderful, wonderful man. He is a genius beyond doubt, just like Jack Thorne. Both of them, they're far too talented. It's ridiculous. It's very unfair. But when Russell wrote the role of Rosie for Years and Years, it wasn't written with disability in mind. It wasn't advertised to my agent as a disabled role. It was just a character, and when I went for the audition, that was all it was, just another audition. And then when they decided they wanted me, that was when we had a discussion. Russell and I spoke on the phone, and we had a chat about how much or how little we include Rosie's disability into the story. And when we had a chat, I mean, we just thought it was easier just to keep the fact that Rosie had spina bifida like me, because that's just as natural as you can get. But then we realised that the story didn't change one bit, whether Rosie was disabled, whether she was non-disabled, whether she was blind, deaf, neurodiverse, nothing at all made a difference to the story. Because, I mean, I don't know whether you realise, but a lot was going on in Years and Years. A lot. So the fact that Rosie was a wheelchair user kind of like fell off the side as something very uninteresting. So, we just realised there wasn't really anything that needed to change, and the story wasn't impacted at all. If anything, it just made it more layered and interesting. And that's what I always say when casting actors with disabilities. It's not going to hinder anything. If all it's going to do is add another interesting layer to the story that's already there, and that's it.
It did, and I think it was one of those where I really celebrated it. You had kids, you were in and out of a relationship.
She was a nightmare. She was a mess.
She was. But that was what I loved about her. Was she wasn't like this like nun. Do you know what I mean?
She was a nightmare. I had days when I was like, oh my God, I wish I was more like Rosie. And then you had other days where I was like, I just want to slap her across the face. She's an idiot. And I loved that. She had 3 kids by 3 different dads by the end. She was disastrous love life. Everything, it just was, she was politically inept. It was just brilliant, just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was that moment where she got in the van and just went, yeah, and she just drove through the barricade. I was like, yeah!
I know, so funny. I was like, can I do that? They were like, no, it's got to be stunt. I was like, why? I was like, please. I mean, I couldn't reach the foot pedal, so that would have been a problem and a half, wouldn't it? But never mind. Never mind.
No, it was fantastic. So thank you for being.
Oh my goodness! No, I mean the thanks.
Me fangirling you.
No, it's genuinely me that fangirls Russell T Davies all the time. I was like, do you have any more jobs for me, please? Although I'm like, but now I'm like, you're not allowed to write anything else until we are over this, because I can't take any more, because we are now living in the winter special of Years and Years.
We are, yeah. Yeah, it's absolute madness. So talking about the madness that we're in and lockdown, what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, it's really funny because I finished my first theatre job this year on the 2nd of February, and that seems like a million years ago. I still cannot believe I say, oh yeah, it was this year that I finished. I'm like, no, that can't be right, surely.
And that was Teen Dick, wasn't it?
Yeah, Teenage Dick, yeah, the Donmar. And then I was working in South Africa, which is very exciting, on a new BBC America show called The Watch, which was really exciting to go and finish. And then I literally landed back in the UK, and 2 weeks later we were in full lockdown. So it's just been, you know what, I felt like I cheated the first lockdown, because I'd said to my agent, because I'd been working away for so long and I'd been away from home for so long, I need 2-3 months just to have a bit of downtime and physically to repair as well, because with a disability that is something you have to take into account. Of course you do, and it's something that I very much need to take into account. So I asked for a couple of months off, and then she was like, hey, here's lockdown. So genuinely, for the first month, I felt like I was like on an extended Christmas holiday. I was like, I was eating when I wanted. I was eating whatever I wanted. I was drinking when I wanted. I was like, this is delicious. I can stay in my pajamas. It's fine. Everything was glorious. And then I think about 4 weeks in, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. My industry is finished. Oh my God. I was like, thinking I'm going to have to ring WizKids up and go, please, can I have my job back? It's all gone wrong. But to be fair, the same for everybody. Good days, bad days, and just I'm very lucky in the fact that, sorry, you can hear my dog shaking. Stop it. I'm very lucky. I was never shielding. I was unsure whether I was at the beginning. So I had a meeting with my consultants, and they ended up saying with spina bifida, for me, the way it affects me, it isn't something that I need to be shielding with. So, and some people I know have been shielding since March and haven't come out. And yeah, so when you're having a really crappy day, you just have to think, oh mate, you could not have seen anybody since March, so just get on with it.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Are you? So yeah, it's honestly,
a couple of days out to see family, but it's like, nah, take it.
It's just,
stay in.
I think from a mental health perspective, I think it's just, when you think about it too much, you just kind of go, oh my goodness.
Yeah. That leads me on to my next question, actually. It's like thinking about what the access to the industry will be like for deaf and disabled actors, writers, creatives afterwards. Like, do you think because people have now gone, oh, we can actually do stuff from home, like we can hook up digitally, we could see more actors by self-taping. Do you think that there is going to be a change?
I sincerely hope so. I think what was really interesting during lockdown, when our industry completely stopped, for the first time ever, every single actor was in the same position. No one was working, nobody could go to set, nobody could see people in the audition room. Everything was 100% equal, and it was like a really exciting time to just say, right, going forward, how can we, because everything has been stopped for us, so now going forward, how can we make sure that we make it as accessible as possible? And I don't think people will be seeing people in audition rooms for a very long time, so most of it's being done by Zoom. and self-tape, which is really exciting because there's zero access issues for people with a self-tape to submit for a role. And I would very much hope that continues. And it's funny, isn't it? The world was like, oh no, you can't work from home. You can't work from home. This role needs you to work in an office. And then it's like lockdown, like, oh yeah, you can work from home. Funny that all of a sudden that everything seems possible. So I sincerely hope that we can move forward and keep access as level as possible.
And I think, like, with all the movements that are happening on Twitter, with the we shall not be removed, nothing about us without us.
Did you see mine, Nikki? I launched mine yesterday.
I did.
Oh my goodness.
Tell us more about yours.
I was
Ruth.
livid. I mean, I do not want this to be a spotlight bashing session, but I think I have to talk about how it came about. So at the beginning of this week, Spotlight had launched their new website, and they had a specific disability clause in there, so for all breakdowns, and where productions could say that they welcomed application or submissions from disabled artists. They were specifically, that was another option, they were specifically looking for performers from the disabled community. Third, we are looking for performers with blah blah blah, so wheelchair user, amputee, neurodiverse, deaf, blind. And then there was a fourth option where it said, which I have to read out because I have to get the wording right because it just baffles me. Whilst understanding my responsibilities in relation to Schedule 9 of the Equality Act 2010, unfortunately we are unable to accept submissions from deaf, disabled or disabled performers for this role. And when I saw that, I was like, you've put a disability opt-out clause. And I'm like, for one, that surely for me, I was like, that has to be illegal. That has to be, surely that can't be right. You can't say, we are really excited to advertise this role, but if you're disabled, please don't apply. It baffled me that that was even a thing. And I looked into it and I saw a lot of people online retweeting it, and Spotlight, fair play to them, they came out and they said, we got it wrong. That was not what it was used for. It was meant for specific roles. Mean that, I mean, I'm not stupid, I'm a wheelchair user. I know that there's some roles that I'm not going to be able to play. I know that. I'm very aware of that. Just as a white woman, I would never want to play something where it would clearly need someone from a black background. You know, I'm not stupid. I know that I won't be right for every role. But for me, that last option said we are unable to accept submissions from deaf or disabled performers. Now, that is a blanket statement. That is assuming that wheelchair users, deaf people, amputees, all of us have the same abilities or limitations. That's not taking into consideration the massive spectrum that disability is on.
No.
So I was just absolutely floored. So what upset me more was the fact that so many disabled performers who are working, who are trying to work, who aren't working, had contacted me and said, I'm never going to work again. I just know it. With this, it's 2020, and if that is deemed acceptable to put on the website where all actors access work, I'm never going. If they are promoting that in 2020, where God knows how many people would have had to sign that off before it went live, and not one person thought, you know what, that could be problematic. Not one person.
That's not right. Yeah.
So many people are like, I'm never going to work again. I feel so undervalued. What's the point? So I kind of took it upon myself to be like, I need every disabled performer who is on my feed, way up, you know, or people who don't follow me. I mean, I don't have a massive following, but people all over the world to see that that's wrong, and that most people, most productions, most casting directors, they want to opt in, not out. So I kind of just created this disability opt-out. Yeah, great. That would be great, wouldn't it? Disability opt-out. Disability opt-in hashtag. Just so that I could see, just so that all the people who'd said to me, I'm never going to work again. I wanted them to see how many people want to opt in.
Yeah.
And it's going very well, actually. It's kicking up quite a storm, which I'm enjoying.
It is.
And I'm like, well, let's just keep that going. I'm going to get t-shirts made and everything. Decided coasters, of merchandise, all for
key rings, badges. Come on.
Christmas baubles, the lot.
You could do a calendar for next year, and each month is a different disabled or deaf actor.
Oh my God, Nikki, I will pretend that was my idea, and I'm going to take that.
Okay, you can have it.
Thank you, babe.
Okay.
But
if these calendars are out before December the 3rd.
I know. I've got a lot to do between now and like January the 1st, haven't I? But you know what? It was something that I really wanted to do because so many people were so upset by it, and like I said, Spotlight they held their hands up and said we got it wrong, and we're sorry for any offence caused. But I'm like, but the problem isn't just that you did that, and yes, we know you've apologised. It's a systematic problem that you thought that was okay. And believe me, productions do not need a reason to tick. Oh no, and what upset me was so many jobs are posted on Spotlight. So if a new production company or Student Films saw that Spotlight were giving that as an option, they would think, oh, that's okay then. And it's like the next generation are going to have the same thing. And it's like, you have to make the change. You have to don't give people that option, because believe me, they don't need a reason to tick it. They find their own bloody reasons.
Okay, so follow your opt-in campaign on Twitter, #opt-in.
Disability opt-in. Whoop!
Whoop whoop. It. I want to come back to something earlier you mentioned around script writing. Where are you with that? Come on.
Oh my God, Nikki, you sound like my agent. It's so funny. Right, bear in mind, I hadn't written properly since I finished uni, I guess. And I think purely, I'll be honest, when acting started, when acting became a thing, I just kind of rode the wave of acting and thought, well, when this stops, I can have some time for writing. I can go back to that, and it doesn't seem to be stopping, which is very exciting. But
yeah,
it was like a double-edged sword, because the more I acted and worked with these incredible writers, the more I realised how bad my writing actually was. So I was like, I genuinely, I was like, I can't write that. Good Lord. I mean, I remember when Jack asked me for some examples, I was like, I can't send Jack Thorne my writing. He'll be like, what on earth is this drivel?
But you have written, though.
I have. I got my first, so this year, last month, I got my first professional writing credit at the Young Vic Theatre, co-written with Jack Thorne, which was absolutely incredible. It was such a dream to have that as my first professional writing piece. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and yeah, here's to more.
You had the delightful Sophie Stone in that, so that was amazing as well. So I like, I think there's a pattern here. I did a bit of writing, and then someone asked me to do some acting, and I'm like, oh, can't act, can't write. Tenor says within the next 2 years, you've written a TV drama.
Hey, that's the plan. I mean, come on. It's, I think for me it was a bit of fear and a bit of constant imposter syndrome, which we all have. And feeling like, my stuff's really shit. But it was definitely a confidence boost I needed. And you know Jack, he's just so kind and encouraging, and he really wants to push people forward. And it was a dream to work with him, absolute dream. And no, I'm really excited about writing in the future. It's definitely something that I think I feel a little less afraid of now after doing that. Yeah.
And I think it is. It's confidence, isn't it?
Of course it
like
is.
You say, imposter syndrome, we all have that. I don't think I've ever met an artist that doesn't have imposter syndrome.
And I'm talking big names as well. We all have it, every single person.
Completely. So, just before we wrap up then, 2 more things. What is next for you? What have you got in the pipeline that you're allowed to talk about?
Well, no, sadly. which is really depressing. But no, so the show that I filmed in South Africa, The Watch, is out on BBC America. So that's coming out in America in January. So it should soon be on over in the UK. I'm not sure when yet, but I will keep everybody posted. I also did last night my monologue as part of BBC Four's Crypt Tales was shown. There are a couple of other things that are coming, which sadly I can't talk about. You know what it's like, but there's some really fun and exciting things coming up that was very much needed after lockdown.
So if people want to find out about these projects coming up, what's your Twitter handle?
So Twitter is @Ruth_Madeley, and my Instagram is just @Ruth Madeley. I get confused which is which. So Twitter is the one with the underscore in it.
Brilliant. So keep following you on there and get your updates on what you're up to.
Absolutely.
So this is going out on December the 3rd, International Day of Disabled People. Who have you admired and who would you like to celebrate on this day of December the 3rd?
You know something? I admire so many people that I find it really hard to put one name out there. I think this year in particular, I've worked with more artists and performers with disabilities than I ever have in my entire life, which really excites me. So my Crypt Tales monologue was written by Genevieve Barr, who is an insanely talented writer and a good friend. So to be able to perform with her, perform her words, was amazing. Amit Sharma, who was the first director with a disability that I'd worked with. Matt Fraser, producer. Daniel Monks, who was in Teenage Dick with me, who I am so obsessed with, it's quite disgusting. There are so many people with disabilities in this industry who I'm having the absolute pleasure of working with and also seeing their work. So for me, I want to celebrate every single person who is working in the industry already and smashing down every single barrier that's there. But I think this year, more for me, is celebrating everyone who wants to be in this industry. Yeah. I think who want to train to be in this industry, who want to go to drama school, who for them this is their only option, this is their dream, there's nothing else they want to do. I'm very aware that I didn't have that. It wasn't something that I'd dreamt of since I was 5 years old. So and it happened. It was a case of I was in the right place at the right time. I worked really, really hard and continue to do so. But that's why I feel really passionate about using this as... I'm very much a firm believer that you end up where you're meant to end up. And I know I was meant to do this. And my aim is to make this industry more accessible for people, all of those people who I just said, who are going to enter it after me. And, I'm so excited to see where this industry goes, and it's going to be so much richer and so much more beautiful. So I'm celebrating every single person who is going to continue to change the world.
Oh, brilliant. That's a fantastic note to end on. So thank you very much, Ruth, for joining us on the Grey Eye Disability Arts Online podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. You too. Lots of love.
Visit greyeye.org and disabilityarts.online for details of productions, events, interviews, opinions, reviews, and learning opportunities.